Congratulations, you got the interview. Now what?
You're listening to That Music Podcast with Bryson Tarbett, the curriculum designer and educational consultant behind That Music Teacher and the Elementary Music Summit. Each week, Bryson and his guests will dive into the reality of being an elementary music teacher and how music can truly be transformative in the lives of the students you serve. Show notes and resources mentioned in this episode can be found at thatmusicteacher.com.
Hello and welcome back to That Music Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about how you can prepare and hopefully do well at an elementary music teacher interview. I want to start off by saying every district, every school, the way they do interviews is going to be a little bit different. Some are going to be really in-depth. And some of them are going to be kind of piecing it together as they go. And I think, I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong way depending on this. I think there's something to be said about the way a very small school district runs especially for getting people into positions. And there's something to be said about really big districts. I think there's positives and negatives of both sides. So I want to give a little bit of background about my own experience on interviews. And then we'll kind of talk a little bit about some things that I think you can do to help set yourself apart and hopefully get the job. The summer that I spent interviewing for my first teaching position was a lot. I was all over the state of Ohio. I think there was 1 week where I was in Columbus 1 week, Cleveland the next day, Cincinnati the next day, and I was living in Northwest Ohio at the time. So I was kind of all over the place. And I did a lot of interviewing, and there were definitely some things that I learned in that process that really helped me understand, like, oh, this district is not for me. Like, there was one district that they basically were like, yeah, you're replacing this person. They do XYZ, and then they're also the accompanist for the high school choir. And I'm like, that's not going to be me. Like, sorry. And I think that's okay. So I think, first of all, I want you to realize is sometimes the interview is as much of you getting to know what the position is and what that vibe is as them getting to know you. So I know that, getting a job is important. I know that there are some times where you will take a job that's not perfect. But if you do have that luxury of, hey, I have a job right now, there are things that I don't like about it, but maybe we could get better, or maybe you're just interviewing to see around. You can be a little bit more, you kind of treat it as like a two-way thing. Now, if you need a job, I get it. You need a job, and we can do what we can do within those constraints as well. In addition to interviewing after undergrad, I also interviewed quite a few times after undergrad looking for a new position. None of them ever turned out, but I had a lot of really good experience going through multiple different ranges, and I got to see different ways that different school districts interviewed. And then at the end of my career, when I resigned, I said, hey, I would love to be able to serve on this interview committee. I know the position very well. And my administrators were really great, and they allowed me to serve on that. So while it was very weird interviewing and being part of that team for my replacement, it was cool to be able to see it from that side of things and to see what, things that drew me to certain candidates, things that the other people on the team were drawn to or kind of repelled against. So I think that is a unique thing that we can talk about as well, of how do we balance all of these things with what the committee is actually looking for. So the first thing that I want to recommend is try to figure out, or whether you can do it beforehand, or if you're getting offered an interview on the phone, be like, hey, can you tell me a little bit about who I'll be interviewing with? Is it a committee? Will there be great? Will there be the big one is, will there be other music teachers or arts teachers on this committee? Because this could be really helpful of just understanding who you're talking to, and kind of going off of that. When you're interviewing, be aware that you're going to have music-y answers, quote unquote, which is totally fine. Just be aware you might have to explain them a little bit, or kind of use different things. So for instance, if I was going to be talking about Kodai a lot, which would naturally come up in an app, for me, because I'm a Kodai trained teacher, I would, don't just say Kodai in my Kodai training, try to give a little bit more context. So you never want anyone to feel stupid, right? You don't want them to say, what's this Kodai thing? You want to give them the information through context whenever possible. So you could say, when I did my pedagogy training for my Kodai certification, like, okay, that even if they don't know what Kodai is, they understand, oh, it's pedagogy. Cool, got it. It gives a little bit more context without them having to ask the question, because sometimes you'll have a great person that says, hey, I don't know any music-y things. Can you tell me what this means? But sometimes you'll just have people that they're just not going to ask. So whenever you can, especially without doing it in a way that's kind of like demeaning or anything like that, whenever you can give more context for these musical terms is really helpful. So once you get into the room, there are a few things they might have you teach. And if they do have you teach, please, for the love of everything, focus on the way you actually teach. There's nothing worse than trying to see someone do like a demo lesson, which, by the way, first of all, demo lessons are weird. They're so awkward. Everyone knows it. Just try your best. But they're trying to do something that's trendy, or they're trying to teach in a way that they think the committee is going to want to teach. No, do what you would actually do. That authenticity will show through completely. And whenever possible, focus on active music making, getting the kids moving, getting the kids connecting to other content areas, bringing in different dances, bringing in different history. Still make it about music, because it is a music job. But whenever you can make these connections, whenever you can get them moving, whenever you can focus on the holistic education, I think these are all things that are going to be really helpful in kind of helping you set yourself apart from the others that might be interviewing. So I have a bonus tip for those of you who are interviewing for your first jobs. One thing that I noticed when we were interviewing was, in my student teaching, or, in my cooperating teacher's classroom, no, that is your classroom. Make it yours. Don't, instead of saying, my cooperating teacher had this classroom management, so no, say, we used a classroom management technique that allowed us to do X, Y, Z. Like, own it. You did the thing. Own it. Like, don't say you created it if you didn't create it, but you implemented it, right? So that kind of flippant language can be really helpful in this type of interview, especially if you don't have any experience on your own without a cooperating teacher present. You've likely heard this tip, but chances are they're going to ask you if you have any questions. Don't say no. Always have questions, and try to focus them on things like, what is the reality of the program looking like? What are the expectations? That is a good one, especially if you're like, what are some typical community expectations of this role? Are there typical performances that are done? Things like that. Or, one great question that someone asked was basically, if I were to get this role a year from now, how would you know if I was successful? Or how would, a year from now, how would you describe me if I was meeting your expectations? Or something along those lines of basically saying, what are your expectations for the person in this role? What are some things that you would count as a success in a teacher in this role? This next one is one that I've honestly gotten fights with about, because I will die on this hill, which is when you have an in-person interview, not the screener interview, but when you actually get in front of the committee or the administrator, something like that, leave a teaching portfolio. And the fights that I've gotten about this is they'd be like, oh, no one's going to read those. The answer is, you're right. If they're not interested in you, they're not going to read your portfolio, and that's okay. But those administrators, if you're between a couple different candidates and you give them the opportunity to say, hey, here's, it's a 6-page portfolio. It has a couple different things in there, and you get to leave it there with them. Yes, it's a couple bucks to print. Even if you get a fancy little cover on it, maybe $5-10. I think that is a worthwhile investment, because I've done that. I did that for my own positions, but also we had people that would leave little portfolios with us after they left. And it was really helpful when we went back to discuss the candidate, because especially if we're like, hey, I was wondering about this, or hey, these two candidates are really close, they're both calling, I both feel like they'd be good. We're able to dig a little bit deeper and see, oh, I didn't realize that they had experience working with English language learners. Like that's good. Like having that there, while there will be districts and people that don't read it, I think the benefit of those that actually do is going to really outweigh this completely. You don't need to spend a crazy amount of time building this. I would put in something like, a couple of sample lesson plans. If you have any work samples, things like that. Reference letters can be helpful, especially if they weren't in your original application. But again, this is one of those hills that I'm willing to die on. It's not crazy expensive. It takes very little time of your part. And if they throw it away after you leave, who cares? The reality is if that helps you get the job, it helps you get the job. And I think that's something that we should continue doing because of that benefit if it's used. I want to leave you with this. Whenever possible, if you're asked a question or anything like that, If you are able to bring it back to student experience, I think that is going to be a beneficial answer. Be genuine. Don't just make stuff up. But whenever you're able to bring it back to, I want my music classroom to be XYZ so that students, ABC, whenever you're able to bring it back to that, that is a really good signal that you're having these thoughts about how we can fit into the bigger educational system of our school. I think, there's nothing lost on me, the fact that music teachers are probably not the quote unquote most important hire on administrators list. But the reality is we can change that. We can make them go, oh, they're here for more than just doing Soul Me. They're not just doing recorders. They really do want to be a part of this team. They really want to be able to, as part of this holistic education. So whenever you can bring those questions back to that, please do so. Because I think it's just going to be really helpful. With that being said, I hope you got some ideas to help you ace this interview. If you are looking for your job, a new job or whatever, just I wish you nothing but the best. If there's ever anything I can do to help you prepare for an interview or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. But with that being said, thank you so much for listening. And in case nobody has told you lately, thank you so much for making a difference in the lives of the students that you teach.